Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 225 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review I'm going to be talking about a Boston-based singer-songwriter who has been doing for years this very kind of wintry, atmospheric, and gothic indie folk music, and has recently been putting out albums on Sacred Bones Records. Of course, I am talking about the songwriter known as Marissa Nadler, and I'm here to review her latest album and her third for Sacred Bones, which was released on September 28th, 2018. And the album is called For My Crimes. As you can see, I have this on vinyl. I got this for my birthday, actually. My 18th birthday. I recently listened to this for the first time on vinyl, and it sounds really good on vinyl, and I will say that this is one of my favorite singer-songwriter records of 2018. I placed it at number 36 on my top 50 list for 2018, and there's a good reason why. This album definitely really shows her improving as a songwriter upon her last record, which I thought was absolutely beautiful, and really showing that by stripping things back a little bit compared to her very lushly arranged 2016 album Strangers, it allows her writing to shine that much more. And this is a really beautiful album cover too. It's actually an original painting that she did. There's the back, and there's 11 songs on it, and it's only 34 minutes, so pretty short record. Yeah, and here it shows liner notes, and there are the lyrics, which I definitely love it when they include the lyrics inside of a vinyl packaging, even though there is no gatefold on this. There's side A, and there's side B. It's just the standard black vinyl. Yeah, and that's the vinyl packaging for My Crimes, the new album by Marissa Nadler. Excuse me. Now, sorry. So I didn't know that Marissa Nadler had put out a new record and stuff like that until listening to an episode of All Songs Considered by NPR Music. And they did talk about this record on New Music Friday. And when I heard about it, I definitely knew I wanted to check it out because I really liked her last album so much and considered it one of my favorite singer-songwriter records of 2016. And hearing this record, I definitely saw that she definitely stripped things back. The only instruments you hear on this record are acoustic guitar with some strings, with a few occasional extra instruments, but for the most part this is very much a focus on her songwriting, which this sounds as if it's kind of dealing with some relationships that she's had that are kind of ending, and she's sort of having to deal with kind of the heartbreak and the kind of loneliness that it sort of leaves. The opening track is the title cut for My Crimes, and it's a beautiful ballad with sweeping strings, as well as some really nice backup vocals from my girl, Angel Olsen, Joel Olsen, And this really does show some of the biggest strengths about Marissa Nadler, not only in how the way that it kind of sweeps you in with its sound, but also in its lyrics, sort of reflecting on how he's sort of done done some terrible things, and told some lies that she's not proud of. And sort of begging her peers, whether it be her family or her friends or something like that, to not remember her for the mistakes that she's made in her life. And she has the ability to just slay me with lyrics like, you used to tint your lips and cheeks there with wine. Wine. And then we have the song, and then we have the song, I Can't Listen to Gene Clark Anymore, which definitely is one of the best song titles on the album. But it's sort of a song talking about how, she's sort of, like, at the end of her relationship, and she's, like, just so, like, crushed by, the end of this relationship, that it kind of prevents her from doing things, even listening to music she loves. Like, just imagine, like, you don't have the ability to listen to someone's music anymore because they just remind you of times that, are pretty much over and are pretty much done with. So it makes sense. The final lyrics on the song are, I remember the songs you sang to me when it was you. Me when it was you, I was falling for. It's very blunt, but you definitely get the point that, she is feeling very, like, heartbroken. Broken. And it's definitely a very beautiful song. Like, the full song, some really nice organ playing on the track, and also when the strings come in, it's like a nice kind of soothing sort of balm for your ears that I absolutely love. Another track that really stood out to me is the song Are You Really Gonna Move to the South? First of all, love the melody on this track. It's like so like beautiful and bright, but it also sounds very dark too. Like when she like strums that acoustic guitar, I am like pulled in instantly. Silly. And then she goes into the lyrics. Lyrics where she still can feel this person there, because she is still with her scent, and expected him to walk in with the key. Then he says that she took the air out of her lungs for weeks. Sort of talking about how she's just sort of like sleepwalking through the days after the end of this relationship, and she really comes through with a very strong sense of convincing when she says, she asks this person, are you really going to move to the South? And the way that she layers her vocals is like really nice, like those kind of higher sort of harmonies that she works in at the end are just so nice. Nice over the atmospheric sounds, and I hear a hint of harp in the song too, which is very subtle, but if you listen closely, it sounds really nice. Really nice. So another one of my favorite tracks on here would have to be probably one of the most accessible tracks on here, the song Blue Vapor, which features a sound similar to that of like, it's kind of like Bruce Springsteen, like old Bruce Springsteen meets like 90s MTV, like sort of weird rock music, like maybe, I'm thinking maybe The Breeders or something like that. Just like that. And she comes through with an incredible vocal, sort of, the vocal, and talking about how she's sort of been and ignoring the calls from this person, and she's sort of seeing herself kind of become more foreign, like towards others, kind of becoming a little bit of an outsider. So she's sort of saying that she's like turning into blue vapor and bone as sort of like a metaphor for like how she's sort of in a low point in her life. Point in her life, and also really like the production on here, and like the combination of Nadler's kind of gothic, sort of smoky kind of voice with like with the backup vocals of Kristen Control from Dum Dum Girls. The way that their voices bleed into one another is gorgeous. So it's gorgeous, and also really like the kind of the kind of like ominous cello melody that plays over top of the guitar. And then towards the end of the song you get some crisp drums and some really nice saxophone licks too. So it's probably the most produced song on the entire record, because the rest is like very kind of raw and only contains like guitar and strings. But another song on here that I think really shines through in the production is the song Interlocking. That kind of psychedelic guitar solo in the middle. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. And yet another song that I think melody-wise just like really like pulls me in, and it feels like everything else is disappearing around me. And she's sort of yet another track where the things she says are very simple and blunt, but she really does leave an impression with how much emotion she puts into her voice. So like she sounds really beautiful, even when she's singing stuff like "Every day's a bad day" and "I've been feeling so down." Definitely one of the standouts here. Now I will go on to like some of the shorter tracks on this record. We have the song "Lover Release Me," which is also one of the most accessible songs on this record, featuring a great chorus with nice background vocals from Sharon Van Etten, which it's so funny. Like a couple of the guest singers that are on this record, Angel Olsen and Sharon Van Etten, are actually signed to the same label, Jaguar. You are, and definitely a song where I'm able to hang on to every word she says, which is a sign of progression in her songwriting, especially in the verse. So maybe it's not you at all. Maybe it's the time of year. I have seen my heart grow old. It's more than I can bear. Definitely a good sort of summary of all the emotions addressed on this record. The song "All Out of Catastrophes" is one that has certainly grown on me, because it definitely is It is the shortest track on the album at 2 minutes and 11 seconds, but man, lyrically, it definitely will definitely like get into your heart and just tear it all apart. As she's sort of talking about how she's been trying to, escape from these, catastrophes in her life, but somehow she ends up, like, as she says in the lyrics, going to hell, pretty much. And also the sounds on here are really beautiful, like that kind of, dark and sort of Western movie inspired guitar riff that's on there is really cool. So it's really cool. If I had to pick probably my least favorite track on here, it would have to be the song "Flamethrower." Like, the melody of the song and, the lyrics on it, just seem a little more redundant and kind of, like, weak in comparison to a good chunk of this album. Chunk of this album, it just sounds a little more safe uh, than I would like. However, I will highlight the song Dream, Dream, Big in the Sky, which is one of the Sky, which also shows a good sense of accessibility. Like, I will say this is Marissa Nadler, her most accessible record to date. And it really, seemed like the right time for her to do something like that. Eh, Something like that. In this song, sort of talks about how, she's been through a lot, spent a lot of time with other people, and she's kind of, just needs some time to kind of, live with the memory, and, she just needs to be alone for a little while, and she seems like pretty much alright with it on this song. Yeah. Right with the song, and I will say the production on here is really nice from the from the kind of high pitched strings on here, as well as the really cool layered vocals. Like, I really dug the kind of atmospheric chow that she throws in the background. And then after that is the wonderfully titled song, You're Only Harmless When You Sleep. Like, you could tell from some of the song titles on this record that, the songs, quality-wise, do live up to what their titles may suggest. This is kind of a song where she's sort of metaphorically kind of reflecting on death, possibly. But, also saying that she's lonely not just when she's by herself, but when she's in the same room with this person that she just, broke up. She just broke up with, when he's, standing next to her. But then also kind of saying, with no shame, that your every movement makes me stand so still. Your day is my night. I'm forever emptying what you're trying to fill. I've darkened your light, sort of showing how he's also sort of left some darkness for the other person, too. This, too. And the last track I'm gonna highlight is the closing track, of course, Say Goodbye to That Car, which is definitely one of my favorite tracks on here. It's definitely one of the more unexpected sort of lyrical moments on here. And that chorus of 11965657 and the engine blew. It definitely is a chorus that I wasn't expecting, but it just sounded very inviting and really, intriguing for my ears to hear her sort of talk about this car that sort of saw these two people's sad estrangement idling there on the pavement. And sort of talking about how, sort of leaving that car alone and moving on is sort of the end of an era. So, this is kind of a little bit of a resolution for this album, sort of. I mean, it's not necessarily a happy song by any means, but it definitely does show that, she's just going to move on with her life. And also, the way that the guitar and the strings blend together is really nice. The production, the kind of dark cellos, underneath the guitar are, very intricately layered and nice. So yeah, definitely a very consistent singer-songwriter record from front to back. If there's one other issue that I have besides, that one track Flamethrower, it's not that this record is, like, in my opinion, a little too short. I mean, I definitely, like, understand it being 34 minutes. It shows that she's just kind of, not making it longer than that just for the sake of it. Really having something to say for every song, but I do want just a little bit more. But still, though, this is a great record. I definitely recommend it, and if you're new to Marissa Nadler, I do think her last album, Strangers, would be a really good introduction to her. That was my introduction to her music, and I definitely loved that, so definitely recommend that. And this album, my final score for this record would have to be 8.1 out of 10. Definitely, a fantastic record. Again, wish it was longer, but definitely some really good material on here. So that's my review for My Crimes, the new album by Marissa Nadler. I'll see you for episode 226.